You may have heard of Think and Grow Rich. You may have even read the entire book, taken notes, even underlined the best passages. But I bet there's one crucial thing in it that 99% of poor people completely miss or misunderstand. That's why millions of people read it, find it inspiring, and then leave it at that. They go back to their old lives, their old habits, their old mindsets, because they don't realize that the answer to financial breakthrough is right in front of them, but they haven't looked at it the right way. And if you've ever asked yourself, why do I read books for success but not for success? Then this video is what you need to watch until the end. I'm going to point out the most important quote by Napoleon Hill. It's not the number of pages or words, it's how you understand and act on it. Think and Grow Rich is not an esoteric book, nor is it written in a lofty language. It is written in simple, easy-to-read language, and millions of people around the world have read it. But here is the sad reality. Most poor people read it, and nothing changes. They nod, they feel motivated, they even share a few quotes on social media. But then 1 week, 1 month, 1 year later, life is still the same. They are still struggling with the same problems: debt, uncontrolled spending, stagnant income. So what is the problem? It is not because the book is wrong. It is not because you are not smart enough to understand. It is because you read it with the same mindset. Napoleon Hill did not write for temporary inspiration. He writes to reset your operating system, and that only works if you really get the core spirit inside. Many poor people read books about getting rich the way they read novels, to learn, to have fun, to feel like they are making progress. But they don't read to act, to live by the principles, to apply them as a system. That's why I'm not here today to review books. I'm here to help you see what you've been missing, even though it's right in front of you. And in a few minutes, I'm going to point out the one detail in Think and Grow Rich that, if you understand and apply it correctly, will completely change the way you look at wealth. If you have ever read Think and Grow Rich, you must have seen the first chapter opened with a single word: desire. But this is the most misunderstood concept. And that is also the reason why 99% of readers never turn the content of the book into real results. Most poor people, when hearing the word desire, often simply understand it as, want to have a lot of money, want to be free, want to be successful. But in fact, what they call want is just a vague dream. It's like saying, I want to win the lottery without any plan to make that number happen. Napoleon Hill is not talking about the nice to have or happy to have type of desire. He is talking about burning desire, a desire so burning that there is no other choice but to achieve it. In the book he writes, desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything else. Translation: desire is the starting point of all achievement, not a hope, not a wish, but a keen, pulsating desire which transcends everything else. So what is the difference between wanting and true desire? Want is normal. Say it in your head, then stop. No specific deadline. Easy to forget. Constantly changing. Depends on inspiration. No action, just hope. Burning desire. True desire. Write it down, read it every day. Attach it to a clear time frame. Deep into the subconscious, repeat it continuously. Maintain even when there is no motivation. Take action every day, no matter how small, as long as there is progress. Napoleon Hill believed that when you truly have a true desire, you cannot sleep until you are closer to the goal. It becomes the driving force of life, the standard by which you evaluate your day. And this is the reason why poor people often achieve nothing after reading books. They think they have a desire, but in fact they have never gone beyond the level of wanting for fun. They do not write down their goals. They do not repeat it every morning. They don't take concrete action every day. In other words, they don't commit, they just expect. Hill emphasizes this at the beginning of the book, but because it sounds so simple, people ignore it. But you don't. You've come this far and you know, without a burning desire, any financial strategy is just theory. In the next section, I'll show you how poor people often get their desire wrong and how to reverse it to start getting into the 1%. What do poor people do wrong with desire? If desire, a burning desire, is the starting point of all achievements, then why do most poor people, despite having desires and dreams, still not go far? The answer lies in the invisible mistakes they repeat every day, seemingly harmless but in fact are traps buried deep in their thinking. Mistake 1. They think desire is desire. I want to be rich. I want passive income. I want to retire early. These statements sound full of goals, but in fact they are nothing more than empty words if not attached to specific time, clear numbers, following actions. Poor people often want based on inspiration, but never turn it into a committed goal. And as Napoleon Hill said, you can't achieve anything if it's just a vague wish in your head. Mistake 2. They think, don't program their subconscious mind. One of the core principles in Think and Grow Rich is auto-suggestion. That is, you have to repeat your desire long enough for it to sink into your subconscious mind. But poor people often do the opposite. They only think about their goals when they feel inspired. They don't reread their goals every day. They let their minds be occupied by negative news, social media drama, and petty worries. This is like planting a seed and letting it wither without watering it. You can't expect your desire to sprout if you don't nurture it with your own thinking every day. Mistake 3. They wait for motivation to act. This is the most common trap. Poor people often think, when I feel ready, inspired, and energetic, then I will start. But that's not true desire, it's emotional indulgence. People with burning desire don't act when they feel like it, they act because they know they can't help it. They may be tired, lazy, stressed, but they still do what needs to be done because they are committed to their goals, not their emotions. Mistake 4. They don't pay enough to get what they want. Desire without action is just a dream. And most poor people don't pay the price to get what they say they want. Wake up an hour earlier to study. Refuse unnecessary purchases to save for investment. Dare to do uncomfortable things like making phone calls, sending emails, selling. They want results, but are afraid of the discomfort on the journey. And that's the clearest sign. Their desire isn't big enough. In short, poor people don't lack desire, but they lack the seriousness to pursue that desire. Napoleon Hill didn't say you have to be perfect or never be afraid. He only asked one thing. If you call it desire, then act as if your life depended on it. And in the next section, I will guide you on how to build true desire, an unquenchable desire, just as Napoleon Hill wrote. So how do you turn desire into real results? By now, you know why most poor people misunderstand the concept of desire and get stuck in a vague desire. But if you are really serious, if you want to turn desire into real results, Napoleon Hill has left a very clear formula. It is not long, just 3 steps. But if you do it right and do it consistently, it will completely change the way you operate your life. Step 1. Write down a clear goal and repeat it twice a day. Hill emphasizes, a desire that is not written down is not a goal. Write down exactly what you want. How much money? From what source? For how long? Then read it every morning and every night, like a subconscious command to your brain. Step 2. Visualize in detail how it feels to achieve your goal. This is not meditating or daydreaming. This is emotional programming which will drive your behavior. Imagine you are checking your bank account with that amount of money. You call your loved ones. You buy the first thing after achieving it. The more specific it is, the more your subconscious believes it, and the more the behavior is triggered. Step 3. Take action within 24 hours, even if it's just a small step. If you write down your goal and don't take action right away, you are teaching your brain that it's not important. So, send an email. Open a savings account. Sign up for a course. Write a small plan. Take action. It doesn't have to be grand. Just show up every day. This is not a magic bullet for success. Here's how successful people turn their thoughts into reality, step by step. And if you're ready, in the next section, I'll do a full comparison. How successful people apply this formula and why poor people, despite reading the same book, still miss out. Here's an interesting and painful fact. Two people read the same book. One changes his life, the other stays the same. Why? Because the problem isn't the book. The problem is how people read it and react to the knowledge within it. Poor people read to feel they're doing something. They hear that Think and Grow Rich is a classic. They buy it, read a few chapters, highlight a few sentences, nod and say, "That's great." But then what? No rewriting of goals. No planning. No action. They read to feel like progress, but don't commit to transformation. And when they don't see results after 1-2 weeks, they say, "This book isn't practical, it sounds a bit cliché." Successful people read to find the formula and implement it as a life plan. When successful people pick up Think and Grow Rich, they don't read for entertainment. They read to reprogram their brains. They treat each chapter as a strategy guide. Bullet points. Write down actions. Turn each quote into a principle of conduct in life. Especially, they apply it immediately when they understand it, without waiting. They don't ask, "Will it work?" They ask, "How can I make it work for me?" The difference is not information, it's commitment. Poor people consume content as observers. Successful people consume it as players. One consumes knowledge. The other implements knowledge as a system. And if you've come this far, you have a chance to be the second person. Because the next part is a true story. About an ordinary person like you, but turned desire into a lever that changed his whole life. Let me tell you a story about Michael, a 28-year-old IT worker who used to work 9-5 with a steady paycheck but always felt empty. Every morning Michael woke up, went to work, checked his email, completed his tasks, but there was always a question in his mind. Am I really living, or am I just existing to wait for the end of the month? Michael had read Think and Grow Rich, but like most people, he closed the book and put it on the shelf. Until one day, after witnessing his best friend quit his job and build his own startup, he started reading the book again. But this time, he read it differently. Michael started from the first chapter, Desire. He asked himself, what do I really want that I can't help but do it? And the answer was freedom, unlimited income, meaningful work, and no time restrictions. That night, Michael wrote down his goal. I will generate $5,000 in passive income per month from my online business within 12 months. He taped the note to his bathroom mirror and read it aloud every morning and every night before bed. He didn't just read, he took action. Learn how to write content and sell online. Set up a clear work schedule after work. Sign yourself up for a 90-day blogging challenge. The first 3 months, no money. But by the 4th month, he got his first order. By the 6th month, he was making $700 per month. By the 12th month, he was hitting $5,200, right on target. But that wasn't the most important thing. The important thing was, Michael wasn't drifting. He had a rudder, a direction, a new mindset. And if you think Michael was special, he has nothing more than you. He just understands something that 99% of people miss. Desire is not something you get inspired by, it's something you live and die by every day. At this point, if you still think that success is someone's luck, then perhaps you don't really understand Think and Grow Rich. Napoleon Hill never said, "He who is lucky enough will be rich." He said, "He who is clear enough, hungry enough, and committed enough will succeed." The right mindset is not a gift from God. It is a system of choices, and you have the power to choose it every day. Successful people do not have different brains than you. They just choose to think differently. They choose to write down their goals. You choose to keep them in your mind. They choose to reread them every day. You read them once and forget. They choose to act even when they are not ready. You wait, when you feel confident to do it. And it is those small choices repeated over and over that create a big result, financial transformation, and freedom in life. The great thing is, you don't have to wait for anything else. You don't need another book, an expensive course, or a celebrity endorsement. You just have to do exactly what Hill wrote. Determine what you want. Feed that desire through repetition, visualization, and action. And do it every day, without waiting for inspiration. without waiting for the perfect moment. Because the difference isn't luck. It's the mindset you choose to cultivate or ignore. If you've made it this far, I believe one thing. You're not here just to listen. You're here because you're looking for real change. And you know what? Right thinking doesn't come naturally. It has to be nurtured by choice, by action, and by a community that resonates with you. Take action today, starting with you. Comment below, I choose right thinking, and I will act on what I desire. Because when you write it down, you're not just talking to me, you're sending a powerful signal to your subconscious. Don't forget to subscribe, because in the next videos, I'll break down each principle in Think and Grow Rich, not in theory, but in real-world application. This is not an inspirational channel. This is where you learn how to rewire your thinking and transform your life. And remember, you are not poor because you are not good enough. You are not lacking opportunities. You just need to understand better and act more decisively on what you know. The right mindset is the foundation. The right action is the lever. And the right community, the catalyst you cannot do without. See you in the next video.